Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
The theme of this show. I don't know what happened.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Six o'clock Friday morning. Welcome in. It is indeed the early game. I, however, am not Bill Gunter. That is not Preston Thorne sitting across from me. The kids have been let back in the studio once again. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen along with you on this Friday morning, getting you set for Christmas. Last show before the big man comes to town. I think you might have the wrong microphone on. Yes, let's correct this really quick. Hold on. I play this game of roulette with Wes and Chris every single day where we inevitably try and find out who has the, let's try that.
This one should
There
be.
we
There
go.
we go.
Now the people can hear Elijah Campbell.
That's
We
right.
get-
Unfortunately for all of us.
I would say we should probably ask Jen to make sure she can hear him. We good here?
Am I on? I think I am. I think I can hear myself. I definitely fooled myself.
Yeah, I
earlier.
can totally hear you.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Well,
That's
you know
better.
what? It's 6 a.m. Got to get that out of the way.
That's right.
Always working out the kinks this early in the morning.
A very-
So you can't hear yourself.
I can now.
He
Yes.
can now. He couldn't hear himself
I picked up the
initially.
wrong mic.
because
that'll do it.
for
Yeah,
those
I-
that don't
yeah,
know,
the goober.
and I'm very excited that we're going to be launching the Game TV here in a couple
Yes.
weeks. People will finally be able to see how many microphones we have in the studio.
And how easy this is to do.
It is a problem.
There are
like-
a lot.
There's like 10 in here at least.
And, a few minutes ago, I was thinking about taking a picture because I realized there are 5 mice in this studio.
Oh, see,
Oh, wow.
when you said
Mises.
that, I immediately thought of these small furry creatures.
Correct. I'm
Like,
sorry.
I was like, wait a minute, what is happening?
I was like, wait, where?
I wouldn't be standing here
No,
if there were.
You're not wrong.
Very
At,
calm.
at our producing station on the other side of the glass, there are so many mouses, however you want to phrase it,
Monitors.
that I inevitably always grab the wrong one.
Me too.
And then I'm wondering why it's not doing what I want it to do.
Or I'm playing a clip on accident. I'm like, whoops, you got to fade that down.
Yeah, we have the one mouse that you have to click it about 3 or 4 times because it tends to go to sleep on a regular basis.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Yes. The one that we
Well,
used to play clips on.
I inevitably bang it on the table a couple times. It usually wakes it up pretty good.
There you go.
Violence works on some mice.
That's right.
Not all of them, but some of them. Sometimes violence is the answer. Only in this instance.
By the way, how are you this morning, Jan? We didn't ask.
Oh, I'm great. I was just talking to Gamecock Larry. He's ready to go when you are.
Yes,
but
we will get to
yeah,
Gamecock
having
Larry
a good
in just a
morning
moment.
and kind of nice to see fresh faces in here.
Yeah. She's like, I want to interpret this. And I see faces that are not Bill and Preston.
Nailed it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Love them.
I was going to say this is the time of
They
year
got out
where
early.
Bill stacks up his off days to get him out of the way, as we all do. But-
Smart man.
Yeah. So once again, they're letting the kids run the show today. Elijah, you have a very long day ahead of you.
Oh, boy, do I. Yeah.
We were talking about this yesterday, where a normal person might look at the opportunity between 9 and 3 o'clock and say, you know what, I'm going to go back to sleep for a couple of hours, get some rest in, and be good and ready to go for 3 o'clock, where you will be hosting the afternoon show once
Mhm.
again, because Jay Phillips has been MIA for like the past 3 weeks, it seems like.
That's right. He's playing like week-long hooky.
He was in here Wednesday, and you guys did your wild card showdown. You guys,
Mhm.
I was actually wondering why he was asking me to do it on Wednesday. I was like, we got like a couple more days this week. And I was like, oh, well, I guess he's not going to be here for the rest of the week. So you got to get it out of the way. So that
Yes.
makes sense. But yes, you've got quite a day ahead of you.
Yeah, so we got this show here. Be hanging out with you guys until 9 o'clock. And a normal person, when knowing that they have the responsibility of driving across state lines for Christmas, might plan a little better ahead. I am not one of those people. I procrastinated, and I got to get an oil change in my car and replace a tire. So I got to
Ooh.
do that. I'll be doing that in between 9 to 3.
I see.
And I could probably squeeze in and out. But then, of course, when you're doing a show by yourself, it takes a lot of more prep work than usual.
It does.
You got to make sure you're more thorough to fill 3 hours of air. Only 2.5 for me because tonight
Men's basketball.
7:05 the game. You
That's
can
right.
hear the South Carolina Gamecocks tip off against Elon pregame at 5:30, which means I'm 30 minutes shorter today.
Nailed it.
But I did not plan accordingly ahead of time. I definitely procrastinated on this. Not proud of it because I have made today a lot longer. Because once I go off here at 5:30, I am hightailing it to Jamestown, Tennessee, to where where my dad lives, and have a little family reunion over there for the holidays.
And that is how many hours from here?
That's a healthy 5 hours and 50 minutes, brother. It's a drive.
Oh,
So-
I don't see. I'm roughly about 2.5 hours away from my parents' house here in Columbia, and I think that's a long drive. So
Mhm.
I can't imagine doubling that.
See, I want to complain about it so bad. You can see it on my face. If
Yeah.
you're watching us, once you watch us on the game TV, you'll see it on my face how badly I want to complain. But then my sister is driving, who good for her for preparing ahead of time to get all of her car stuff handled.
Huh.
She's driving from Fort Collins, Colorado. She'll be
Oh, she wins the
Oh,
longest
yeah.
drive.
Driving from Colorado.
she's got her dog with her.
Oh
She's
my
got a golden
God.
retriever, and while most golden retrievers are good on planes,
Mm-hmm.
Gus is not. Gus is not very good
Oh my
in
gosh.
public. Good boy, but not very good in public. So she's driving, or she drove yesterday. I think she got there about late last night, this morning. So
How
she
many
had about-
hours? How many hours is that?
I think it was like a hair over 20.
Yeah. I say
Yeah.
going to Illinois, it's 13-ish.
I was gonna say you have similar treks going up north. From
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And this is the first time in 20 years probably that we have not driven to back home for Christmas Day activities. So we actually kind of did a little early Christmas with some people.
Knocked it out
Um,
early.
Yeah, so it's gonna be it's kind of weird to be here a
Right.
couple days before Christmas because usually I miss the few days before Christmas for
Right.
any activities in town and the festivities for the show and all that kind of stuff. So it's very different. I feel like I should be getting off the air today and hitting the road. Like you.
yeah, like this.
So it's
yeah.
this is so weird. Yeah. Kinda
Yeah.
You're
different.
like, I'm staying. Yeah, weird. We're staying here
Mhm.
for Christmas.
I did the drive back from Disney all in one day, and that included going back to my parents' house outside of Atlanta and then still driving back here. So that
Ooh.
was like a 11-ish total
Ooh,
hours
round
of
trip.
driving, round trip,
Mhm.
Orlando to outside of Atlanta, and then back here. That was a long day, but
Yep.
you guys definitely, or Jen's got me beat, and your sister definitely has me beat.
Mhm.
Yeah, she has the ultimate. Don't mess with me. I've been in the car for a day and a half.
Yeah,
type
you know, just when
ordeal.
she comes in, let her do whatever she wants to do.
Mhm.
Chill
Go
in the house for a bit.
in a room by herself, take a nap, whatever she needs to do. Leave her alone until she's ready to talk.
Yeah,
I get it.
she can take the old bedroom.
That's
I will
right.
sleep on the couch.
Oh, look at that.
I will take the
She
couch.
earned it.
I figured we were talking this past trip up of all the trucks up there in a long time from, illnesses or just going up for different visits. We figured we've probably made about 80 trips
Oh my God.
and that
Oh, wow.
we're doing calculations. It's got to be probably 160,000 miles that since we've moved here. And that was
That's
30 years ago.
an entire life of a car just
Oh,
going back
right?
and forth
That
on one
is-
destination.
Wow.
I know. So, yeah. So I'm okay with not going today.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll do the math on
But
that.
good luck to
80
you.
trips for 13 hours.
Speaking of somebody that's very well traveled, Gamecock
Yes.
Larry is ready to go this morning.
Yes, he is.
Gamecock Larry, as always, we appreciate your call. How are you doing on this fine Friday morning?
Well, I'm doing okay. Had a pretty rough night, but everything's going to be all right. First, I want to thank the good Lord for giving me another year. It's been kind of rough, but I'm doing all right. But I want to thank 107.5, the morning crew and all, for letting me come on. And after I read my Bible and everything, I make my dial around 107.5. That's about all I got to do. But the good Lord's been good to me, and I got a good support group. But I want to wish all my friends, all my family, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in case I don't get to talk next week. But I'm gonna be lost Monday and Tuesday, but I'll be okay. But I'll tell you, I've got a great group of friends through the radio, through 107.5. I've got friends I've never seen coming to see me today. And I've met them through the radio, the Clark brothers, and they're the fine young men, racing and motocross team that's coming to see me today. Don't bring me something sweet, but I don't care. I'm going to jack my sugar up because I got a plenty of Noble on. But I want to wish all a Merry Christmas, and I want to wish I think Tyler said he's driving.
Mm-mm.
I want you to have a safe, enjoyable trip,
Elijah.
and we'll see you when you get back. I haven't met Elijah yet, I don't think.
You'll meet him soon, don't worry.
Not yet. That's the key word.
But I'll see him next year if nothing bad happens. But I want to wish and thank everybody. 107.5, all my team, my radio friends, even the Clemson Tiger fans. I will not congratulate you on anything in the winning the sports, but I will wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know I'm all mixed up. I can't think and talk at the same time. Can't get my brain calibrated.
Neither can Bill.
All have a blessed holiday, and I love all y'all. The last thing, I ain't worried about the Gamecocks until 2024. We're going to be okay. Go Gamecocks. Love y'all. Merry Christmas to all. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Appreciate it always, Gamecock player. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. And look, so this past Tuesday was my 1 year anniversary of working here.
I was thinking we had to be getting close to that.
Yeah, it was right before Christmas. I didn't get on air until like January the 2nd, whatever. But I've been here for right at a year. And when I found out I had this job, it was like late November, I guess. And I had been, when I applied for this job, I'd been tuning in, obviously, just trying to get a lay of how the shows were and everything. The very first show I listened to, the very first segment, Gamecock Larry called in. I don't even remember what show it was. Gamecock Larry called in and gave his usual spiel and all that kind of stuff. And I remember as soon as he got off, I was like, you know what? I get it. This is the same passion that you see around the SEC, around all of college football in general. Like, I'm going to like this place if we have people like Gamecock Larry calling in. So, Gamecock Larry, appreciate you as always.
Oh, yeah. It didn't take long here to realize that Gamecock Larry is the local legend of calling around here. He owns these phone lines.
Yep.
You know, and that was a classic Gamecock Larry call.
Absolutely. So we appreciate Gamecock Larry, and again, Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. Want to throw this out there. We'll get you guys involved. We'll hit on this as the show goes along. Top 4 Christmas movies. You have just 4 Christmas movies you had to watch for the rest of your life. What are you choosing? We'll get to that as the show rolls along. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Tyler Head. Jen Jensen producing for us on the other side of the glass. It is the early game. Getting set for a Christmas weekend here on the game in the 107.5 Game app.
The game will be at the beach, in the
Are you
PD,
doing a
in the
promo here?
Midlands. That almost covers the whole Palmetto State. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on
Okay. You want me to give you a rundown?
103 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Speaking of the 107.5 The Game app, as Elijah just mentioned, he's getting set to do a lot of traveling coming up today. I'm imagining a lot of you are going to be hitting the roads as well over these next couple days, celebrating the holidays. Well, wherever you're going, whether you're going up to Greenville, maybe you're going down to Florida, maybe you're going across the country like Elijah's sister is and going to Colorado or something like that. Wherever you are going, you can take the game with you. Just head on over to the App Store. If you have an iPhone, go to the Apple App Store. If you have an Android, go to the Google Play Store and download the 107.5 The Game app. Once you have it downloaded, all you got to do is click play, and you can listen to all of us wherever you're traveling this holiday season. You will never be without the game, whether you're in South Carolina, across the country, across the world. Take 107.5 The Game with you with the 107.5 The Game app.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
JT has huge news that will save you even more money with a bigger selection of vehicles to choose from. Dodge Lane Greystone and Galliana Jeep are now combined to become JT's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. To celebrate, we're doubling your down payment and doubling your rebates. months and make no payment for 6 months. Hurry to the all-new JT's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram on Greystone for our grand opening celebration. Get into a new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram here to wrap up the year sales event.
Everyone, is Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to garnettrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
Forgot what she asked for back in June? It's not too late to get her something she would never get herself or think to ask for. A gift certificate to Rejuvenation's Medical Spa, voted best of in the Midlands. Call them today at 781-1201. That's 781-1201.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Honey, you need a trust.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the party, this is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and heavy nice. My grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. So our chicks feel fly. So everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Start learning a new language today at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Mark your calendars. The Chick-fil-A Classic Basketball Tournament returns this December. This year's event is happening December 27th through 30th at River Bluff High School in Lexington. The Chick-fil-A Classic is renowned as one of the top high school tournaments in the nation. For information, visit ChickFilAClassic.com. Don't miss the opportunity to watch tomorrow's college and professional athletes in action at this year's Chick-fil-A Classic. Brought to you in part by the town of Lexington, Lexington County, and the South Carolina Parks, Recreation, and Tourism.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
And we do have a report of a big slowdown there on I-20. That's I-20 westbound between exits 98 and 92. There is an emergency repair on the Wateree River Bridge, so there is a detour in place. So if you're taking I-20 westbound, you'll take it at exit 98. You'll get off there, follow the detour, and then re-enter at mile marker 92. So again, slow down there, but they are directing you how to get around that, so that's good news. On I-20 eastbound at Clemson Road, we also have a report of an accident. 61 for the high today, 65 tomorrow, 67 on Sunday, 65 for Christmas Day with maybe a couple afternoon showers. Right now, it is 37 on the early game.
Early game.
With Bill Gunter, former Gamecock Preston Thorne, and Jen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Well, those are things that we're continuing to look at and evaluate. I've had some conversations with some people already, and our focus this month has been recruiting, Phil, and that's what it is right now. But, you know, as I said at the beginning, it's my job as the head coach to always look at everything that we're doing from top to bottom, starting with me. And if there's ways to be better, certainly being willing to make decisions. So those are all things that we're still going through.
Welcome back into the early game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen, along with you on this Friday morning. That, of course, was the voice of Coach Beamer yesterday in his early signing day press conference, where he talked about a number of things, obviously the new commitments coming in, as well as the guys in the transfer portal. And he was asked that question about staff changes. Now, if you would have gone back to early November, you've asked most people in the South Carolina fan base, what is something that is most likely going to happen this offseason? I think a lot of them would have said, we're going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator because, of course, South Carolina's defense struggled through a lot of the season. Well, they got a little bit better down the stretch. The month of November certainly looked a lot better than the first 2 months of the season did. And I still don't think the confidence level in the general consensus of fans was very high on Clayton White, like the damage had already been done. But here we sit, December the 22nd, the entire recruiting class is signed. You brought in all these guys from the transfer portal, several of them on defense. I feel pretty confident in saying I think Clayton White's going to be the defensive coordinator next year.
Yep, I think 100% is going to be the defensive coordinator this upcoming year. It's going to be a situation to watch, though, because while he's coming back and while the defense improved really, really well, it's going to be important for him to start off the season on the right foot.
Mhm.
And there's going to be no excuses not to, because you now found a defensive scheme that fits your personnel. You got a lot of that personnel back, a majority of that personnel back, the biggest key parts, that personnel back. You're adding some good defensive pieces from recruiting and additional ones from the transfer portal. So there's no excuse to come off to a bad start like you did last year. Last year, you're still figuring some things out. You made a defensive adjustment with your scheme going to the 3-3-5. And then over the course of about 4.5, 5 weeks, you saw them really become not just competent, but for the last 2 games of the year, that was your strength, was holding the opponent and forcing turnovers and doing things that you just were not doing for most of the year. So I think Gamecock fans should feel good about how you ended the season, and that now, keeping Clayton White, keeping the defensive coaching staff is something that now going in next year, we're going to see exactly how much they figured it out.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to be watched.
And this is something that I brought up, when the defense was struggling, went through that entire month of October, not only not winning games, but not forcing any turnovers either, which was a big component to what they hung their hat on for the first 2 years under Clayton White. And, when that's not happening, the team's obviously not winning. That's more of those kind of glaring issues kind of come to a head. But I said this a while back that, Coach Beamer, he's never been a head coach before. He's never been put in a position to have to fire somebody. Now, you can easily say that last season he probably would have done that with Marcus Satterfield if Matt Rule didn't come in and take him off of his hands. But again, he didn't have to make that choice. So I don't know how trigger happy he is when it comes to that. I feel like he does. And just kind of knowing Beamer's personality, how he is with other things, like I feel like he's somebody that's going to give you a very long leash. And, yes, if they would have continued down the path they'd been for the first 2/3 of the season in the month of November, then probably he would have been forced to make a decision. But that little optimism, like, hey, we did figure something out at the end of the year. When did this 3-3-5? You saw, the linebackers, Bam Martin Scott, Jerron Willis really pop. At that point in time, your guys on the edge started showing a little bit more. Jordan Strawn had some good games in the month of November. Like, you saw the optimism there. Like, okay, this is something that we can build off of in 2024. I think that was enough in Beamer's mind, at least, to keep Clayton White around. And now the first time an opponent, Old Dominion, converts a 3rd down on August the 31st, guess what everybody's going to be saying? It's like, why do we keep playing White? What the heck are we doing here? Like, he's going to be under this intense microscope next year because the margin for error is going to be basically non-existent.
Audible groans will be heard across Williams-Brice Stadium. But and that's the thing too. Like, 3rd down conversion or 3rd downs, you had to get better on, especially on 4th down and long. But I was just for certain that after the Florida game, that was the straw.
It seemed like it.
It really seemed like it. It felt like it. That game ultimately is what defined your season, and it ultimately kept you from going into a bowl game. In terms of, when you look at 5-7, you're like, well, you could have been a bowl game if you preserved a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter of that game.
Especially because what we knew and what we talked about, that Florida team coming into this week, this is a team that is terrible on the road, not only under Billy Napier, even going back to the end of the Mullen era. Like, they just couldn't win on the road, couldn't score points on the road, couldn't put offense up on the road. Well, guess what? Graham Mertz throws for 400 yards. They score, okay, I mean, you had the safety that helped out a little bit, but you score, 39 points in that game? Or
37, I guess.
37
of offensive
points. Scored, some of the most points they scored the entire season. Again, Graham Mertz went out there, had a career day. Ricky Pearsall looked completely unstoppable. And again, you look at those 2 4th down conversions. It's like, if South Carolina stops one of those, they win this game. Like, that definitely seemed like the tipping point, the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, okay, he might get fired on Monday. And they kept him around. And again, month of November, a whole lot better. And yes, you played Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt. So it wasn't, LSU and Alabama by any means, but still consistency is consistency. And that's worth something. And statistically speaking, they gave up the second fewest amount of yards in the month of November behind only Mississippi State. So there was improvement there. And again, the Beamers saw enough from that to say, okay, we're going to give him another shot.
Which is fair, which is totally fair. And like, that's the thing when you're evaluating coaches, it is fair to judge guys based on the progress that's being made.
Mm-hmm.
If sometimes like coaches, like players can get themselves into some holes, they can get themselves into some deficits. And sometimes it's up to them to be able to figure it out. Sometimes you do need time to be able to figure it out. It's like Phil Jackson, to me, is one of my favorite coaches in the history of sports, not because he was some schematic genius. His scheme actually, I think, was most overrated in the history of sports, but he knew how to handle people. He never liked calling timeouts and the other team was going on a run because he liked having his team out there so they could figure it out. And he said that's usually the best way to figure it out. Sometimes me telling them something is not going to make them figure it out.
Right.
Clayton White, over the last 4 weeks of the year, you have to give him a lot of credit for figuring it out. Or even I would even say starting at the Texas A&M game, they really started to figure out how to get stops, can bend a little bit, not break, and finally force turnovers. Sometimes turnovers happen. Like the Jacksonville State turnover, I think it was like the punter that was trying to go for like fake it or whatever, very ill advised. Like sometimes teams will give you the ball, but there were a lot of instances in which guys like Nick Emenwari were making plays, or they're batting passes down at the line of scrimmage, or making plays on defense, and you're actually able to create turnovers and keep yourself in these games because of your defense playing well. Whereas before these adjustments were made, you're getting torched and your defense wasn't keeping you in games and it was your liability. So when you're evaluating like defensive coordinators and coaches, it's easy to get like caught up on play calling and some of the like results of the entire year, but taking into account the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think that's probably more indicative of a coordinator that Clayton White can be and what his defenses can look like once he figures some things out. It happens to everybody.
I also think it helped that you did sign one of the best defensive prospects in all the country with this last class, and Dylan Stewart. And, when you talk about the relationships that commits have with coaches, that, if you moved on from Clayton White, you may risk losing a guy like that. So that can also kind of help, like, okay, we'll give him another shot because we have this high caliber 5-star edge prospect coming in that, talking about edge not being the position that popped really well this year, has the opportunity to come on the field very early on and make an impact next year. And again, that could be a big part of this defense that we hope takes a big step in the right direction next year.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your highest ranked out of state recruit in the history of your program. And that's one thing that Shane Beamer does, is he does relegate a lot of the assistants to their position groups, and for the coordinators for their side of the ball to be the ones recruiting that side of the ball and recruiting, receivers or receivers coaching or recruiting receivers, linebackers coaches, recruiting linebackers. And that defensive coaching staff did a really good job of getting high quality players. They had 2 quality linebackers as well. I mean, they raked in high school recruiting this year, especially when it comes to the entire state. But they raked on the defensive side of the ball.
And for those just tuning in, I see a couple people asking about this on the text line. There's not been a formal announcement that, yes, Clayton White is coming back confirmed 100% in 2024. We're kind of reading between the lines here, the fact that we are a month removed from the season, the fact that you've now signed your entire signing class in general, and brought in all these guys in the transfer portal. Like, you rarely make a change on your staff at this point in time, because again, you've had so much already for next year put in place that if you went out and said, well, now we're going to hire a new defensive coordinator, you risk disrupting all that. So I don't expect them to move on from Clayton White since it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it would be shocking, because then you're like, oh, well, now the candidate pool for your defensive coordinator is slimmed up a lot. If you make coaching changes, you got to do it as soon as your season ends.
Or quite frankly, these days, you got to do it before your season ends, because you got to have them on staff more often than not before you sign your class. I mean, Florida still hasn't figured out their defensive line coach, which could have been an influence on why a lot of guys decommitted from them at the last minute.
Yeah, 4 of their top 6 recruits, and why Billy Napier was probably sweating way too much over the signing of a 18-year-old athlete.
LJ McKay and DJ Lagway saved them from maybe firing Napier on Wednesday.
He might have been the first coach ever fired on National Signing Day.
That's right. We'll hear more from Coach Beamer and what he had to say on Wednesday. Coming up as the early game rolls along. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Tyler Head. Jen Jensen producing for us on the other side of the glass on your Friday here on The Game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Ever sit in this meeting and
What would you say you do here?
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
think to yourself, man, I'd rather be listening to the game?
You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Well, just go to iTunes or Google Play and download our app on all of your devices, and you'll never be without the game again.
KFC's 2 for $5 chicken wraps. 'Tis the season for tasty goodness with KFC's new mac and cheese, classic and spicy slaw chicken wraps. Did they mention you can get any 2 for only $5? It's finger licking good.
Next seconds entitled with approved credit call 888-411-7640 for details. JT has huge news that will save you even more money with a bigger selection of vehicles to choose from. Dodge leaned on Greystone and Galliana Jeep are now combined to become JT's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. To celebrate, we're done.
what you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. It is the early game here on The Game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell in for Bill Gunter and Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen on the other side of the glass, producing for us on this morning as we get set for your holiday weekend. And going into this weekend, obviously the news cycle and stuff slows down a little bit because, of course, everybody's getting ready for the holidays. The signing day class is already in. Transfer portal starting to slow down a little bit, as this week has definitely been a slower one for South Carolina in terms of the transfer portal. But some news that popped up earlier this week that certainly caught a lot of people's attention was the fact that Malachi Nelson, the former 5-star that was out at Southern Cal, saw the writing on the wall that Will Howard's going to come in there, be the starter, says, you know what, peace out, Lincoln Riley, I'm going to go somewhere else and, try and continue my career. And South Carolina was a school that was at least interested in communicating with him on potentially joining the team. And that raised a lot of eyebrows because, of course, we, have been talking that, hey, feel like Lenore Sellers is going to be the guy. You just need somebody for depth purposes to come in and fill the room out, which we thought AJ Swan was going to be that guy. In fact, he was that guy and then changed his mind at the last minute.
He was that guy until he wasn't.
Exactly. And apparently LSU gave him a little bit more of promise on being able to come in there, which good luck beating out Garrett Nussmeier. I don't see that happening. But regardless, he heard what he wanted to hear, and he's gone off to Baton Rouge. So South Carolina is still looking for another quarterback in the transfer portal. And for a guy like Malachi Nelson, who, of course, former 5-star, is going to want to go somewhere and probably expect to start. Because when you're that highly touted of a recruit, that's usually what you're told is that, hey, you're going to be able to come in here, be our guy for 3-4 years, however long you want to be here, that kind of thing. So communicating with South Carolina, you wonder what the conversation is like. Well, Coach Beamer was asked about not specifically him, but competition as it pertains to the quarterback spot in general the other day. And here's what Beamer had to say.
And be real and honest with everybody, Mike. And there have been a lot of quarterbacks across the country that have gone in the portal that have and had an interest in South Carolina because of what Spencer did. They look around and say, well, here's a quarterback that just came from Oklahoma and look at what he did in 2022 and 2023. I'm obviously going to be interested in South Carolina. And just to be completely and totally honest, a lot of those quarterbacks called and said, will you guarantee me the starting quarterback job? And I said, absolutely not. I will guarantee you the opportunity to come in here and compete. But we talk about competition in this building at all times, and it's on the walls in this building. And if I've never told a player I'm guaranteeing you a starting job, and never will. And because the minute I do, then I'm a complete freaking fraud as a head coach in that. So we guarantee them the opportunity to come in and compete. And frankly, a lot of guys said, okay, thanks, I'm going to go somewhere else because they are telling me that I'm going to be the starting quarterback, and I hope it works out for them. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but we believe in competition, and I tell guys all the time, I'm always going to do what's best for the South Carolina football program. So whether you're black, white, scholarship, walk-on, senior, freshman, whoever gives us the best opportunity to win football games is the people or the guys that we're going to put out on the field. So we have had some quarterbacks that really good that I could have lied to them and then got them here and whatnot, but I'm not going to do that either. So what we're looking for is somebody that wants to come in and compete. To be the starting quarterback. And we've got a lot of confidence in Lenore Sellers. We got a lot of confidence in Dante Reno. I need to bring some other people in here to compete with them, but that's just kind of where we are, from that standpoint.
And that's exactly what a head coach should say. And nobody's going to say, well, yeah, we just told him he's going to be able to come in here and start right away. But I think there's a lot of cases where that kind of thing can be implied. And going back to Spencer Rattler 2 seasons ago, I think everybody could look at the quarterback room at that point in time, and no disrespect to anybody that was in it, including Luke Doty, and say, well, yeah, Spencer Rattler's going to be able to come in here and get the shot pretty easily. I don't think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. But with a guy like Lenore Sellers, there is doubt. Now, yes, Lenore Sellers has not proven anything as a starting quarterback here at South Carolina, but the flashes that we saw of him this past season gives you a lot of hope. Like, hey, that's what we like to see. There's the arm, there's the running ability, all that kind of stuff, which is great. So anybody that comes in here is going to have a tough time winning the job. Again, a guy like Malachi Nelson, he probably wants to go to a place where he has a little bit, maybe an easier, more guaranteed path to start. Because again, that's why he left Southern Cal, because it didn't look like he was going to get on the field.
Yeah, which is why it doesn't really make sense, I guess, for Malachi Nelson to come here. If you look at the other schools that have been rumored to be interested in him, you look at Cal, TCU. It makes perfect sense. They have a quarterback transferring out. They have a very quarterback-friendly offense. That would make a ton of sense. Houston, definitely a quarterback opening. In Tulane, with Michael Pratt going to the NFL, definitely a quarterback opening. So there are other places that are on the list of reported schools that have interest or mutual interest between Malachi Nelson and those schools that where it is guaranteed. It's a Spencer Rattler type situation.
Sure.
And you said on the afternoon show yesterday that I get the connection. I get the Spencer Rattler connection because, Malachi Nelson wouldn't be the first Lincoln Riley recruit to not have a job because of Caleb Williams and then head out east to South Carolina and become a quarterback. That pipeline seems to be relatively strong. So it wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. But based off what we heard Shane Beamer say there, definitely not going to be coming here because I think Malachi Nelson would need that assurance that he's going to get the job because even though he might be the most talented quarterback in the country or might have one of the best arms in the country or whatever it is that people like about him, if he comes here and does not start and there's any risk that he doesn't start, that's his first 2 years that he has spent at different schools not starting. School number 3 will not be as lucrative as you want it to be. This is the stop now that he has to really hit on. He needs to go somewhere where he starts, plays right away, and is able to show why he was a blue chip recruit. And then maybe in a year or two, go to an SEC school.
Sure.
Or an Ohio State, who is now seeming to be one of those places that likes to be a portal quarterback school, or a Washington or an Oregon, who's also doing the whole get a transfer portal quarterback thing every year and get older at that position. He can't afford to miss out on this move.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think that's what Coach Beamer is trying to build here at South Carolina as being that place. Well, every 1 to 2 years, they're just going to go out and find their next starting quarterback in the transfer portal. I think he wants to have that development of, hey, we're going to bring a guy in and he's probably not going to start his true freshman year because you don't want to put somebody in that position unless you absolutely have to. Let him develop, sit behind a guy like Spencer Rattler, and then have him for the next 2 to 3 years, and then groom the next guy, which in this case would be Dante Reno, and so on and so forth. Like, I think he wants to create that pipeline with quarterbacks to want to be able to come in here, sit a year or two, then get the opportunity to start for 2 or 3 seasons instead of just going out there like a Lincoln Riley is doing and just saying, all right, well, there goes one. Let's go find somebody else in the transfer portal because quite literally his entire tenure as a head coach, that's all he's done is gone out and pulled. Really, Spencer Rattler is the only developed quarterback that he's allowed to start for him because he sat behind Jalen Hurts, got his year to start, started for half the season in 2021 before getting replaced by Caleb Williams and so on and so forth. And obviously Caleb transferred with Lincoln Riley, so it's a little bit of a different scenario, but that's kind of his track record is, hey, he's just going to go out and find a new quarterback every couple of years. So what recruit is going to think, well, I'm going to break this cycle? And especially if you have a guy like Malachi Nelson, who's a 5-star, well, if he can't do it, then why would anybody else be able to do it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. But here's the thing. What I like about Shane Beamer establishing this is that it establishes trust with other future recruits.
Yes. If I'm a 20, like Landon Duckworth committed for 2026, if I'm Landon Duckworth, I love hearing that. Yeah. Because that gives me the hope, okay, I'm going to be able to go in there and he's going to want to develop me and give me my opportunity. He's not just going to go out there and fill my spot with somebody else because he doesn't think I can do it.
Or he's going to see a year of me having underwhelming practices, which is possible for a freshman, and then be like, oh, I want to go for the next best guaranteed thing.
Right.
Their commitment to your development is a really good selling point.
Absolutely. Plenty more to talk about as the morning rolls along. Coming up next, though, your top 4 Christmas movies. You hadn't let us know on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. We'll dive into some of those next here on the early game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
107.5 The Game on demand podcast menu.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, our team is here to get you better sooner.
On the home of the game.
in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
So I think that the Florida State snub amplified their desire to push this to this step we're at right now, Pat. But if you really look, I guess the news is that Florida State has called a board meeting for Friday to discuss taking legal action to get out of the grant of rights.
Welcome back in. It is the early game here on the game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen along with you on this Friday morning, which apologies to people on live stream. I have unmuted the microphone. Once again, we did not have any sound going out in that last segment. That was my bad. My apologies. Thanks, Chuck, for pointing that out. But that was the voice of Pete Thamel on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, talking about, for the 87th time this year, Florida State threatening to leave the ACC. Now, do they have a little bit more of a ground to stand on with getting excluded from the college football playoff? Yes. Is it likely they're going to be able to get out of the ACC? Still no. But hey, Board of Trustees got a meeting today, and they're going to come up with something, I guess.
That's all they can do is try to come up with something, and that's something I can guarantee you will not get them out of that grant of rights, because that bad boy is so legally airtight, and they did this for a reason.
Yep.
It's been explained to me pretty well that they wanted security long term, more so than large profits. And when you make a move like that is so far in advance, or it looks so far ahead, you cannot be mad when you can't get out of it, because you got what you asked for.
Exactly.
So Florida State is complaining about getting what they asked for, and that is long-term security in the ACC. I'm sorry, you probably didn't have the foresight to see that the SEC and Big Ten will make more money with their TV deals. You probably should have known that.
Well, did they think the ACC network was going to rival the SEC network or even the Big Ten network, which was the OG of like content specific networks going back to 2007? Like, did they really think that the ACC network was going to be on the same ground as those?
There's no way. They were either incredibly naive or purposefully dumb. But they just wanted that security to be together forever.
They did, and so 2016 was when all that went into effect. And at that point in time, obviously Clemson was in the midst of winning their national championships. Florida State hadn't quite fallen off the face of the earth
They
quite
had
yet.
Jameis Winston just a few years before.
They were just coming off Jameis Winston. You had like a lot of promise within the league to where you could make the argument like, okay, at least a couple of these schools are up there rivaling the Alabamas, the Ohio States of the world. So I could see the optimism at that point in time. But now here we are a couple of years later, and Florida State being the only one that made a viable shot at making it in the college football playoff. And since then the SEC and the Big Ten have signed, and the Big 12 as well, have signed new TV deals, which is much more lucrative than what the ACC has. So all these schools are pointing fingers like, we want money like that. And they're like, sorry, you got what you got.
Oh, you asked for an impossible vault to get out of, and we locked you in it. I'm sorry, you can no longer ask yourself to get out because you signed this piece of paper.
So, and Jen, you can probably relate to this. When like a small child is like, hey, I want to eat this thing right here. I want to eat cookie, mac and cheese, whatever it may be. And they're pounding their fist on the table. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And you give it to them and they're like, well, now I don't want this. It's like, well, too bad. You asked for it. Now you're going to eat it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I can see the look on Jen's face. She's like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. You wanted it that bad? Yeah. Every bite and you better lick the plate.
Florida State is only a couple of bites into their plate of mac and cheese. They're going to have to finish the entire thing. Unless the Saudi Public Investment Fund just ponies up $120 million, which I don't think that's going to happen.
No, not to get them out of a conference. For Kylian Mbappe to play in their soccer league, yes, they will probably make that investment. But just to save Florida State from the big, mean ACC that didn't help us when we were undefeated, no, that's not going to invest the money in that.
And I know, because you look at what the Saudi investment fund has done in the other world of sports with what you mentioned with Mbappe, what they did with Live Golf, WWE, they signed with a huge 10-year contract with them. Like, there's a return on investment for them of bringing that stuff to their country in front of their fans. Like, if they help Florida State out, what does that do for them over there? Because Florida State's not going to start playing home games in the Middle East. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see where the return on investment goes for them.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, Saudi Arabia has a large contingency of Florida State football fans or
Right.
college football fans in general. When they say it just means more football in the South, that's an SEC thing here in the Southeast United States. That's
Right.
really where it just means more. I don't think you're going to get a ton of view in Saudi Arabia. But and that's the thing too. Like it's so far fetched for them to get help in that respect. You're not going to be able to fork up the money anywhere else to get out of this thing. Like they're just stuck. And at some point, you got to just realize you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. How do you make this conference better right now?
And here's the thing: even if they found a way to get out, the ACC still owns their media rights until 2036. So whatever potential money you're trying to make going to the SEC, going to the Big Ten, you're not going to make as much of it because you don't get the full media rights guarantee.
Exactly. And what are these contracts going to be worth in 2036 for the SEC and Big Ten?
Who knows?
We're going to see cartoonish numbers. I mean, literal men walking out with bags of money.
Yeah.
Just overflowing. It is going to get cartoonish here very soon.
And a big part of that, and this is just sports in general, like live sports are what's propping up cable television these days. Like the reason a lot of people still have cable TV is so they can watch live sports, because pretty much everything else you can DVR. You can watch Dancing with the Stars on DVR on Hulu the next day, or stream it or whatever it may be. Like traditional cable TV and these like cable TV companies, DirecTV, Spectrum, all that kind of stuff, are like throwing everything that they can at sports because it is what is driving viewership there, because it's one of the few things that people still want to actually watch live or when it's actually happening, in real time. So yeah, 13 years from now, 12 years from now, I can't imagine what that television money is going to look like. It's going to be ridiculously large.
Appointment television has gone by to the wayside. Like I don't know if there's any of us that say, oh wow, I want to be home by 8 o'clock so I can watch a TV show.
It's gotten to the point now where like a show like The Bachelor, right, which is very popular and very, very well watched, and Jen apparently not a fan of it. But like,
oh gosh, my mic was on. I'm so sorry.
even when you see commercials for it, they tell you set your DVR. Like they know you're not going to watch it live. They're just hoping you're going to watch it later or stream it later or whatever it may be. Like it's gotten to that point. And again, live sports are the only thing. Like people will like, okay, game starts at 1 o'clock. I'm sitting down at 1 o'clock and watching it. And if you've ever DVR'd a game and tried watching it 5 hours later, first of all, you got to shut yourself off from social media and turn your phone off, because it'll inevitably be ruined for you.
Yeah, it's still not the same.
It is not the same. I've tried to do that, and people know, like when it comes to NASCAR, for sure, I want. I've got to go home. I need to be, because again, it takes something out of it when it's not live. I don't know.
So
weird,
especially for NASCAR races. Like I have several friends that text me throughout races, and I have to tell them like, hey, I'm going to be out today. I'm not going to get to watch the race till later. Please do not text me about it or tell me anything about it.
Yeah,
I want I can't
mute
be
all group chats.
I can't be that person that like knows the outcome before I watch it, because I genuinely want to at least try and experience it like it was for the first time. Same with football games, whatever it may be. Like I want to be in doubt until the very end. I don't check the score first and then like, okay, we'll see how they got there. Like I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't for certain things. Like there are some games where I'm like, wow. Like for like Washington, Oregon this year, we were covering a game at Williams-Brice. We were watching the Gamecocks, a team that we cover. But that one is, I found out who won, but I was so interested in those two teams, I didn't mind going back.
That's a rare
but
exception.
It's very rare. Where it's like, I'll go back and rewatch this just so I can.
And that's something that
get a taste of it.
Sitting in the press box, obviously, we have a TV in there where they're giving you like, the highlights during breaks and stuff like that. We're watching games on our laptop. Like we weren't completely like avoiding it. Like you're like, okay, we see the score, like what happens there. So like, yeah, that's one of those exceptions. And but for the most part, like I got to see it live. Like I can't watch it later. I can watch a replay of something, like go back through and like, okay, here's some stuff that I might have missed, but yeah, live or nothing.
And that's the thing. It's always going to be that way for most people, which is why these TV deals are like, they're not going down, right?
Sure.
There's certain things that are going to lose value that are not inflation proof. They're going to lose value over time because of the nature of it. People are always going to are going to crave live sports. Sports fans will always want it live. They're always going to pay for it live. They're going to go out of their way to get it live for the exact same reasons we all just mentioned that we want to watch live sports for. And the fact the ACC never had that foresight, is what makes it so puzzling. Is what makes it like it was such a, I don't even want to say it's that safe a deal, because you just completely capped what your ceiling was going to be with making money down the line. It was just, oh, we want security. Well, I mean, you want security that bad? You're going to invest all this in just security of being in a conference? Sure, whatever. And that, but that's they're stuck with it.
And here's my thing too. And look, Florida State is a very successful program. National championship with Bobby Bowden, obviously won the one 10 years ago with Jimbo Fisher. Just went undefeated, won the ACC championship, and that's great. I don't think they are as hot of a commodity as they may think they are. And I know they think, hey, if we break free from the ACC this year, Greg Sankey's going to be calling, the Big Ten's going to be calling, everybody's going to be beating down our door for Florida State to join their conference. I don't think that's the case.
No, especially not the SEC.
We are in a time right now in college football with so much shifting around, with the Pac-12 falling off into the Pacific Ocean.
Rest in peace.
The Big Ten has 18 schools. The SEC has 16 schools. The Big 12 has 16 schools. No conferences have ever been this large in the modern era of college football. All three of them, ACC also now has 17 schools with SMU joining. All these conferences are trying to figure out how to navigate the waters of expanded conferences, especially the Big Ten. I don't know. There's going to be there's a potential for a 6-way tie for the Big Ten next year, which is going to be nuts. And I fully hope it happens for chaos purposes. But
I want coin flips to decide a conference.
I don't think anybody, and Greg Sankey's gone on record as saying this because he's been asked, of course, when all this stuff was in the summer, like, hey, Florida State and Clemson want to leave the ACC. Would you bring them to the SEC? He's like, we're going to take our time. We are calculated. We don't just jump to the next thing. Like the vetting process of Texas and Oklahoma, two of the biggest brands in the history of college football, was meticulous. And they didn't just jump at it. It took time. And if Florida State and Clemson join the SEC, which I don't think either of them ever would, I don't think they are as valuable as they think they are. Again, it's going to be a long process. It's not going to be, hey, we left the ACC. Can we come to you guys? It's not going to be that simple.
No. And here's the thing. No one's going to add schools to their conference unless it is proven to make them money.
Sure.
Texas wasn't going to be going into the SEC solo because it would have messed up your numbers. And it's not bringing you additional money. You're already in the state of Texas. The SEC network is in Texas. It is not in Oklahoma.
So valuable. If you are already in that state, you're already in Florida, you're already in South Carolina. You're not gaining that much more by adding these two programs.
Yep. And so I remember listening to a podcast. I was listening to the Dan Le Batard show because they had John Skipper on, former CEO of ESPN. And he's explaining these, the media rights deals and why the SEC got Texas and Oklahoma and why it's going to bring them so much more money. And Clemson and Florida State were brought up, schools like that. He used that as an example. He said, you'll never see them go in the SEC because the SEC has no use for them. They have no use to be in the South Carolina market because guess what? They already here. The SEC network has been here.
Yes.
You're not gaining additional SEC network subscriptions. You're not gaining extra houses where you can be in their TVs in their living rooms. Same thing for Florida or Florida State because they already have Florida. SEC network's already been in Florida. Gaining or adding Florida State and Clemson does quite literally nothing to that conference in terms of making them more money. And so if they're going to go through the process of adding these schools, which is a headache, you better make sure you are making significantly more money and you're just not going.
And Tallahassee is obviously a decent sized TV market. So there's a little bit of validity there. But again, I don't think it moves the needle as much as they think it might. Their best option would probably be the Big 12, but even them, again, going into a 16-team conference for the first time, I don't think, and Brett Yormark is, learning the ropes as a conference commissioner. I don't even think he's going to be like, yeah, come on over here. We'll take you. I think, they wanted to vet this thing out a little bit too. Again, assuming FSU can even get out of the ACC to begin with, which is not going to be easy.
Yeah. It takes an overwhelming majority. And it also takes breaking this grant of rights that is so airtight for this specific reason.
Well, for the Board of Trustees that are meeting today, all I can say is good luck. You're definitely going to need it. Hopefully, they'll maybe put together some Christmas list and maybe they can ask Santa for a new conference. Maybe he'll bring them that.
Better chance doing that than they do getting out that grant of rights.
That's right. Speaking of asking Santa for things, we'll go around the SEC. What coaches might be asking Santa for this Christmas? That's coming up. It is the early game. I'm Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen along with you on this Friday morning. Here on the game and the 107.5 The Game app.
Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been This year? What's so funny?
The noise. You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the game app now.
Oh, we are always in the giving mood here on the game. And in fact, it's time for more giving.
On the Thursday of Christmas, aren't you looking to me?
The 12 Days of Christmas on the Game is sponsored by
Griffin Pools and Spa. Here's what Santa has right now.
I have a pair of tickets. Women's basketball taking on Mississippi State on January the 7th over at Colonial Life Arena. Caller number 5 right now, 803-404-6100. Again, 803-404-6100. Win yourself that pair of tickets as a part of our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Thanks as always to our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas for helping us out to give you these great gifts this holiday season. Again, women's basketball tickets at taking on Mississippi State on January the 7th. Caller number 5 right now.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studios. This is 1075 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, where you always get the highest and best experience and the lowest possible price guarantee. But this holiday season is even sweeter with special savings and incentives that you simply won't find anywhere else. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? I'm Dr. Mark Bentley with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged or boxed meals, no surgery, and no hypnosis, call my office now at 803-824-4210.
Hi, this is Kyle. This weight loss program sure has been great to me. I've lost 93 pounds in just 4 months. Only 20 pounds away from my goal weight. It has surely changed my life.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month. That's a half a pound to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 803-824-4210. That's 803-824-4210. Or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com.
Must text second title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. Galliana Kia is now JT's Kia on Greystone. 2 locations means even bigger selection and bigger savings for you. We've doubled our stores, so now we're doubling
You think this is a game? No way.
This is the best Christmas song.
This is it. No, this is bopping.
I can't believe you've never heard this before.
Think this is a game? We got to use that as like imaging for the game. We'll have to clip.
You know what?
And the one that we
That's
were
a good idea.
the,
This is a game.
the one that we were playing, and I didn't grab it fast enough, but he had actually gone to, I think it's maybe before he had recorded this, and maybe this prompted this recording, this produced version, but he was actually at a radio station and just was hitting the countertops off to get that one out. But he was hitting the console
wow.
and just beatboxing, and
Freestyling.
Oh man, yeah, it was awesome.
R.I.P. DMX.
Yeah,
Real
R.I.P.
one.
DMX. Loved DMX. Actually, yeah, I had it came up on my shuffle just yesterday. A couple of DMX.
It's a big difference from what he usually does.
It is. Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
I don't associate DMX and Christmas music, but that hits. That's good.
I wish he'd done a full Christmas album. DMX doing like the All I Want for Christmas Is You. Or
I need to hear him barking in this too. Oh yeah.
You would even say it close. Come on, all of the other reindeer used to laugh and call them names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games.
Fire.
I am living right
Great
now.
fire.
Come on,
Come on. Oh, a music video for this would have been awesome. This a music video for this.
There isn't one, is there? I don't think there's a music video for this.
I mean, no,
What? You think this is a game?
it's amazing. Absolutely.
10 out of 10. Yes. I'm glad we could introduce you to that.
Oh wow.
I figured with how cultured you are in the world of music, you would have heard that at least once.
I grew up listening to a lot of early 2000s hip hop,
Yeah.
and rap, and DMX obviously one of the best.
See, I was talking about this with Terry yesterday, and we like Eminem to do like a classic Christmas song.
Oh my god. Oh, that would, especially if you got like the early aughts version of Eminem.
Yeah.
You know,
like Twas the Night
where
Night
it's more
Before
unhinged.
Christmas.
Yeah, he's a little more rounded together now, mentally, which good for him. It's we love seeing personal growth. But if you'd got an unhinged Eminem to do a Christmas song, A, it would not be very FCC compliant.
Absolutely
but B,
not.
It
But
would be hilarious. That would be so fun.
either him doing a Christmas song or him rapping a Dr. Seuss book. One of the two.
Oh.
Yes.
Have you seen people that do this? That's a thing, like rapping Dr. Seuss.
Well, I could imagine someone like Busta Rhymes or whatever who they excel in fast rap, doing reading an entire Dr. Seuss book and it actually sounding really good. I could absolutely see that.
So yeah, shout out to DMX, RIP, for giving us perhaps the greatest Christmas song of all time. Personal opinion there. I mentioned this a moment ago. Santa coming to town here in a couple of days. SEC coaches filling out their Christmas list.
Yes.
Some of them going to be asking for some pretty sizable things from the big man to hopefully make 2024 a little bit better. And we can talk about this over the next segment or so. But who's at the top of your list and what are they asking for?
One of my favorites that I thought of, obviously, Mark Stoops is the kid that is asking Santa just for money. Mark
Okay.
Stoops has been asking the fan base to chip in. He said, "Oh, you don't like the players we have? Well, how about you fork over some money and help me out a little bit?" So Mark Stoops not just is going to Santa and asking for a check, he's asking everybody for a check. That's all he wants for Christmas. this year
He's
is the
standing out in
envelope.
front of Walmart. He's got the little like bucket. he's ringing the bell.
Salvation Army.
Like,
and
hey,
this stuff.
we need better talent. Which, give them credit, just on the transfer portal alone,
Oh, they
they've
do
brought
well.
in some key pieces. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to go 10-2 next year, but like, watch out for Kentucky. They might make some noise.
They ain't going to be as disappointing as they were this year.
Probably
I
not.
have a feeling they're going to be a little better.
And, Carrie and I talked about this yesterday. Does Mark Stoops like the fact that he's having to go these routes to get good players in? No. But unlike somebody like Dabo Sweeney, he understands if you want to be successful in today's college football, you have to embrace this stuff. That's why he's talking about paying players and talking about, he mentioned the thing about Jordan Dingle, his tight end, who went in the transfer portal and came back in. He said, yeah, it was a money thing. He got what he wanted and he decided to come back. Like, he's being upfront about it because that's what you have to do to be successful now.
Which refreshing. I never thought I'd have Mark Stoops and refreshing in the same sentence, but here we are going into 2024, barreling into this with me saying that, yeah, Mark Stoops in refreshing, same sentence, that his take on college football right now and his approach to this is what it should be.
Mark Stoops does not want any big boxes under the Christmas tree.
No.
He wants to be handed the envelope, and he pulls out the card, doesn't read the card, just waits for that check to fall out of the bottom of it.
Yep, and that's all he wants. That's all he wants.
That's all that he
can
needs.
Spend it the way he wants to, and that's there are a lot of kids like that growing up, and Mark Stoops is one of those.
Top of my list, Billy Napier asking for a more patient fan base, which unfortunately I don't think the elves up in the North Pole are going to be able to make, because the Florida contingent has been on his butt since day one, which, look, that's a fan base. You got to understand what you're walking into down there in Gainesville. But year number one wasn't great. 6-7, you lose that Las Vegas Bowl 30-3 to Oregon State. And it's like,
salvage the field goal.
But hey, you had
alive.
Anthony Richardson, who goes on to be number one draft pick. Okay, that's something you can at least sell to recruits, whatever. This year, step back. And again, if South Carolina holds it together in the fourth quarter, they're 4-8 instead of 5-7. Miss a bowl game. The recruiting almost went completely off the rails here the other day, to where, again, they may have fired him on a Wednesday if those 2 5-stars don't commit to them late in the day. Next year's schedule is a murderer's row for Florida, especially in the month of November. Like, Billy might not make it to Thanksgiving as Florida's head coach. And again, that fan base, because everybody after Urban Meyer has just been on like the razor's edge the entire time. They are ready to cut you loose at any second. And Billy Napier is going to be feeling that heat this entire offseason, and especially once the season rolls around, because this fan base down there in Florida is very impatient.
They were so over Dan Mullen in 2021 when he was a year removed.
That's the crazy part.
From being in the SEC championship game.
Almost got Florida to the college football playoff, and a calendar year later, he was fired.
Isn't it hilarious that Marco Wilson throwing a shoe in the LS shoe game?
It set out
is
everything
the sliding door moment that set off this chain reaction of events that has ultimately led to Dan Mullen being fired and Billy Napier having a day like he did, where, an 18-year-old signing a piece of paper could have cost him his job or not.
That's the world of college football. We'll get into more SEC coaches and what they're asking Santa for this Christmas coming up. It is the early game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen along with you here on The Game, the 107.5 The Game app.
Got something to say?
Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer.
At 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Just a moment ago, we had another one of our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Gave away some tickets to women's basketball on January the 7th. Taking on Mississippi State. And hey, we got more stuff to come. Christmas is not till Monday. We have plenty more things to give away over the course of not only this show here on the early game, but the entire day as we use set for Christmas with our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Brought to you as always by our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas. So don't touch the dial or the app, however you're listening to us, which hopefully you're downloading the 107.5 The Game app. Go to your respective app store and download that if you haven't already. But keep listening all day long. We're going to be here all day. Elijah's going to be here until 5:30, till men's basketball takes over then as they take on Elon. We're going to be giving away stuff all day long as a part of the 12 Days of Christmas promotion. So please keep locked right here for your next opportunity to win coming up very shortly. Again, thank you as always to our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas for helping us out with our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway here on The Game.
At Mattress Firm's once-a-year sale and clearance, you can save up to 60% on select
game. Tyler Head in for Bill Gunter this morning. Elijah Campbell in for Preston Thornton. Jen Jensen producing for us on the other side of the glass there. Of course, a couple days away from Christmas, we've been going through the SEC and figuring out what coaches are asking Santa for this holiday season. I'll go give my next one here. Let's go out to Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly simply just asking for a defense. I mean, you look at what they had on offense this year. The amazing year that Jaden Daniels had en route to the Heisman Trophy. If they had a semblance of a halfway decent defense, they would have been in the mix for the college football playoff the entire season. They could have at least gone to like a New Year's Six game, at worst probably. But the fact that they couldn't stop a running nose at any point this season, it did them in, which is unfortunate because you wasted all that talent on offense by not getting to the level that you should have been.
It's very rare in modern college football for a team in the SEC to have the best offense in the entire country and still lose enough games to not make the college football playoff, to lose 3 games. Just because, the SEC, it's, a lot of the best defenses in the country. You think of the Georgia teams the last few years, the best defenses in the country. You think of a lot of the earlier Alabama championships in the Saban era, the best defenses in the country. I'm still old enough to remember Greg McElroy winning a national championship game by throwing 61 yards through the air because that defense was really, really good. But to have a team in the modern SEC put up the points they did, be the best offense statistically in the country, and still lose 3 games is mind-boggling.
It's like, who do you think you are? Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma?
Yeah, exactly. Lincoln Riley's watching him. He's like, you just copied my whole flow. Word for word, bar for bar. The whole thing. Stole the whole thing. It's copyright infringement, actually. There might be a suit. I think Brian Kelly might get a cease and desist letter for completely stealing Lincoln Riley's shtick. So if he copyrighted it, yeah, that's exactly what he's going to be getting. So that's good.
Yeah.
Needs a defense badly.
And Brian Kelly coming into the season, I remember listening to him on the Feinbaum show in July or August or sometime around there. Like, he was even hinting at that point in time, like they knew it was going to be a struggle on defense coming into the season. My problem is when you look at what they signed in early signing day and what they brought in the transfer portal, they're not really addressing it as much as you think that they should be, where I'm going to have confidence that they're going to be leaps and bounds better on defense next year.
And it's not just the issue with me too with their defense is not just that it was bad. It was bad with good players.
Exactly.
Like,
That's
Harold
the weird
Perkins
thing.
is a really good player, and they just didn't know how to use him.
Yeah.
How do you not know how to use that guy? I get he's a little bit of a positional tweener, but how do you not just figure it out? Your job is to see those type of players, see all that talent, and just figure it out, dude. And they just couldn't for an entire year. They basically negated Harold Perkins, which is a hard thing to do.
Which is unfortunate. And I think he's going to go on and have a perfectly fine career in the NFL. He was touted as one of the best linebackers coming into this past season. But again, just the parts and pieces weren't there, or at least not used in the right way to have the most success out there in Baton Rouge. And again, now they're looking at a 3-loss season despite having a Heisman Trophy winner, which is insane. Who's next on your list?
All right. We'll keep it in the artist formerly known as the SEC West.
Okay.
And Auburn's Hugh Freeze is going to ask Santa for a burner phone. That man did his best work at Ole Miss when he could drop bags, which dropping bags now is perfectly legal.
It is.
Through certain means.
You would think like he'd be thriving with that, right?
He absolutely should. Yeah. So the clock should be ticking here in the next recruiting cycle, that if he doesn't have a team that's 8-4 or at least beating Alabama every year, that people are going to start getting a little weary of the Hugh Freeze experience. But what did him in at Ole Miss? Recruiting violations, FOIA requests, specifically FOIA requests that had something to do with his university-issued cell phone.
Yep.
So I'm sure Hugh Freeze is asking Santa on the down low, can your elves make something that's not university issued, that my family don't know about, that no one needs to know about? I need a new burner phone.
I was going to say, and Santa's to be like, Hugh, just go to Walmart and buy one for like $30 and get one of those scratch off phone cards. Like, they won't be able to track you. Like, it's not that hard, bud. And he's like, well, they didn't tell me about that out there in Oxford.
All I
like,
brought was my
know.
university issued credit card.
I was going to say, he buys it with the university credit card. Like, no, take some cash out at an ATM, then go buy it. Like, don't leave a paper trail. That's what got you in trouble the first time.
Exactly.
I like the Hugh Freeze. I'm going to add another thing to his list.
Yes.
I think he's going to ask for Auburn's luck back. We've talked
Yes.
about Auburn's luck, Auburn Jesus, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
God's an Auburn fan, all that, which is very real, and we've seen it so many times with the kick six the prayer, Jordan Hare, all those kind of weird things that seemed to happen out there, especially when Gus Malzahn was the head coach.
Gus Malzahn is Auburn Jesus, maybe.
He might have been. But you look at this year, they had Georgia on the ropes, not on the ropes, but they were in that game in the fourth quarter when they really shouldn't have been.
I'd say they were, the OTR.
Couldn't close the deal. Jalen Milrose, miracle, 4th and 31 throw. Like,
quarterback spy.
In normal Auburn luck, they would have won both those games, but somehow they didn't. For some reason, the luck isn't clicking in the way that it used to out there on the plains, not to mention the fact they lost to New Mexico State before that Alabama game.
They needed 3 touchdowns worth of luck in that game.
He wants Auburn's old luck back because they just don't seem to have it right now.
That's good. He wants those ghosts that are existing in Jordan Hare that might help football move like a yard more into the hands of a different receiver, or maybe, that nice gust of wind that goes in there that leaves the kick a little bit short, or the clock operator that might have given Nick Saban the second that he asked for.
Because 5 years ago, if those two scenarios play out again in Jordan Hare, Brock Bowers fumbles, and Auburn runs it back for a touchdown to win. For one, they don't put a spy on Jalen Milroe, and they just knock the pass down.
They be normal.
On 4th and 31. Yeah, they just beat them.
Normal.
Be normal, and you win that game. And then they're talking about beating 2 of the best teams in the country on what was otherwise a not so great year at Auburn, which is pretty standard for the kind of stuff that they pulled off over the years. But yeah, I think Hugh Freeze is just asking for Auburn's general luck back.
That would also just be the most Hugh Freeze thing too, is to beat those really good teams and then still be completely unremarkable and still be 8-4.
Hugh Freeze managed to beat Alabama in back-to-back years in 2014 and 2015, and did not go to the SEC championship in either one of those games, either one of those seasons.
Which is the most Ole Miss thing imaginable.
It very much is, and they gave up that 4th and 25 to Arkansas in 2014 that would have got them in the SEC championship game if they would have stopped that play.
The Hunter Henry backwards Hail Mary.
Just the most nuts play ever. And Alabama was like, thank you. We'll be in Atlanta. Enjoy the Peach Bowl.
The golden horseshoe that constantly lives at Alabama.
Let's throw one more out there each real quick as we wrap up here.
All right. I'm going to go with Clark Lee from Vanderbilt.
Ooh.
And he's going to ask for players who love you for you, who want to play for you, have best players that want to stay and just love you for you, man. He's asking for a family.
Great minds think alike.
Sad.
I had Clark Lee with literally just players, in general.
Anyone you have a pulse, you have eligibility, come play for me,
just
please.
about every contributor, especially on offense, has left Nashville. He just wants a team to fill out a roster for next year.
There's not a university or there's not a program in college football that their problems got that much worse because of the transfer portal and NIL, because it gives and takes for a lot of teams.
Sure.
For every team in the country, it's giving and taking. It's even giving and taking for Arkansas. But it's not doing much giving for Vanderbilt. It's just taking in what made a once impossible job even more impossible. Clark Lee is living through, having a good 5-7 season, which at Vanderbilt is good.
Sure.
Considering they won games against Florida and Kentucky. And then those best players from that, he finds a diamond in the rough recruit in London Humphreys, and they go 2-10 the next year, and all the shining spots in the team are gone. They're all gone.
Yeah.
Minus CJ Taylor, but it's a local guy. You're not prying him out of Middle Tennessee.
That's it. So yes, Clark Lee just wants some players in general at this point in time. And that's the SEC wish list for Santa Claus. We'll give more of your text as well as give mine and Jen's top 4 Christmas movies to wrap up hour number 2 coming up here on the early game on the 107.5 The Game app.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Despite the Jets' 32nd ranked offense, fully geared offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett doubled down on his system. He claimed he's had positive results wherever he's coached. However, that wasn't the case at Jacksonville, Buffalo, and Green Bay, where he didn't even call them.
Heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Cutters, I thought we did a good job doing that. Talon had a post up that he scored on. Got to the free throw line some. Michi was attacking the basket very effectively. He's really improved in that aspect of his game, honestly. And so it's nice to be able to have guys that can generate some stuff when the shots aren't falling. Hopefully, we don't have to do that all the time. Hopefully, some of these things will start burning the net down a little bit more like we were earlier on in the season. But until then, we'll try to defend and rebound at a high level and generate offense in another way.
Welcome back in. It is the early game. Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jenkins, along with you on this pre-Christmas Friday morning. Of course, that was the voice of Lamont Paris last night on Carolina Calls as he's getting you set for tonight's matchup as they take on Elon before going on a little bit of a break for Christmas and then coming back taking on Florida A&M to wrap up non-conference play coming up next Saturday before they jump into the grind of the SEC schedule, starting off with Mississippi State on January the 6th. But he was talking about there, his guys kind of stepping up, finding ways to generate offense when the shots weren't falling the way that they wanted them to. And you think back to earlier on this season where it seemed like South Carolina just couldn't miss with the three in some of these games. Then you go the other night against Winthrop. Another bit of a rock fight that South Carolina was able to pull away from in the late stages. They're only shooting 23% from beyond the arc. So, we talked about this, coming out of the gate as strong as they did shooting from three, which was a welcome sight, by the way. You live by the three, die by the three, and you can't rely on that being the main part of your offense because eventually you're going to have a night where you run cold. And like they did the other night, especially with Michi Johnson going 0 from 5 from beyond the arc, finding other ways to score is a sign of the improvement of this offense from a season ago where I felt like on a night like that, they were just kind of folded a little bit and maybe lost a game to a team like Winthrop.
Oh, yeah. And this is a game that they would lose last year. Winthrop's a solid basketball team. I would say that they probably posed the biggest threat to UNC Asheville in the Big South.
Mm-hmm.
Winthrop's a really impressive team. I mean, they're probably one of the older, more aggressive teams in college basketball. There's a reason they're 7th in the country in free throw rate. And there's a reason they got to the line 29 times. And no, it's not because the officiating was bad. Yes, the officiating being bad is caked into every basketball game you watch. Hard sport to officiate, but they won the free throw discrepancy.
The referees hate our teams, right?
They always hate your team, just like us on the air. We always hate your team. But yeah, 29 free throw attempts to 12 for South Carolina, and that's by design. Winthrop is really good at that. You survived Winthrop having a good offensive night while also living at the free throw line. And that's a game I don't think you win last year. The big thing to watch moving forward is continuing to find ways to generate offense. You mentioned how they did it in this game, and a lot of that was offensive rebounds. They had 18 offensive rebounds. You're not going to be able to do that consistently in the SEC because Winthrop only has about one lineup they play with that involves someone over 6'8". You're about to play some really big teams. When you play Alabama in your second conference game of the year, they got 5 dudes on the roster that are at least 6'10".
Yeah.
They have some big boys with multiple lineups in which they can play them in. And those big boys play on the perimeter. And they will rebound. It is going to be a big, tough task in the SEC to win games by grabbing 18 offensive rebounds when you don't have a dominant post rebounding presence. And that's kind of the thing you're going to have to have somebody do to create second chances. And Josh Gray was that guy last year, but I don't know mismatch wise if he can play on the perimeter enough to guard some of the bigs that are in this conference. That would be tough. It's a challenge for Lamont, but offensively, when the shots aren't falling, you got to be able to find a way to get to the line or be able to find a way to get more paint touches and generate easier layups. And you can't go 12 on 23 for layups. They did do that against Winthrop.
Well, speaking of getting into the paint with those touches, Michi Johnson stepping up with his ability to attack the rim. Here's what Lamont Paris had to say about him last night.
But yeah, he's over 80% from the free throw line now. It's amazing. It was a small sample size earlier, and so now it's a more realistic number to look at. And so when your best free throw shooters are getting there the most, then your team free throw percentage obviously improves. So it's nice that we've been able to shoot a little better from the free throw line.
Well, and obviously the more you attack the rim, kind of play in the paint a little bit more, the more likely you are to get to the foul line. And that's something that a season ago, Michi Johnson seemed a lot more hesitant to do because he was kind of a little bit more reliant with the way that he shot the 3 ball. And there were some nights like against Kentucky where he could shoot a 3 from the parking lot and it would make it down. And other nights, like we saw the other night, where he just wasn't able to hit anything. And he became a little bit one-dimensional to some degree where maybe he had a hesitancy to want to kind of attack when it came to driving to the rim. That seems to have changed a lot this season. Maybe it's the confidence of playing with more experienced guys around him that's helped him out. But not like the other night, where despite the fact that he did not shoot a 3-ball, for him to still be able to come in and score 20 points, I think is a testament to how much he's developed as a player to be able to show off other areas of the offense to have a successful night when his shots aren't falling like they usually do.
My favorite part of the evolution of Michi Johnson from last year to this year is his shot selection. Obviously, he's not taking a lot of contested threes, not taking a bunch of deep contested threes. He has realized that he is not just a good three-point shooter. There are players in college basketball that are really good three-point shooters, and that's it. They don't shoot well mid-range. They don't get to the rim consistently. And when they do get to the rim, they don't necessarily connect on a lot of layups. If you like an example, Cam Reddish was a guy who shot 3-pointers relatively well at Duke. But when he got to the NBA, the biggest knock on him was he couldn't finish around the rim. He missed 10 dunks his rookie year. There's an art to being able to score around the rim and having touch near the basket. Michi Johnson can score at all three levels. He can shoot from 3. He's a really good shooter off the bounce in the mid-range game, and he's proven that when he gets the basket, he can connect on layups. He's able to finish the bunnies near the basket, and he's a good free throw shooter. Michi Johnson is a good shooter. There are good three-point shooters. There are players that are good shooters everywhere. Now that he's been a lot more aggressive in terms of getting paint touches, not only does it open things up for the rest of his teammates, which it does, it's going to allow him to be able to score anywhere else because he's getting to different spots and he's picking and choosing when he can get to them. And in a game where you're not hitting from the outside, he's aggressive enough to be able to get to the free throw line and make those 8 attempts count by hitting all of them.
We talked about this a lot coming into the season of how important these other transfers coming in. One of those being Talon Cooper, you got to kind of run the offense through where, Michi Johnson was maybe asked to do a little bit more of that role a season ago, where he does have a little bit more freedom to do other things on the offense and not have to be that focal point of being able to run the offense, through him necessarily, which again, I think has helped him out, a lot this season.
Yeah. And my favorite thing about Talon Cooper is too, like he doesn't need to score for you to know he's there.
Sure. Which he does score a lot.
And he can definitely score.
Yeah.
But he's an aggressive rebounder. He had 2 offensive rebounds. And for a guard, that's really impressive. He's a very aggressive pursuer of the offensive boards. He defends well. He plays hard. You never question effort with Talon Cooper. He's just one of those guys, you're going to know he's there.
Sure.
Even if he does not score a single point. And that's one of the reasons why I love Zachary Davis. You got to have guys on the floor that if they're not scoring, you can still count on to do other things. And you need those guys to win ball games. And South Carolina's got a few of those guys now. Would you like Talon Cooper to be scoring 20 plus a game? Sure. And him scoring 13 was all helpful against Winthrop. And
absolutely
him making some big buckets this year. That 3 he made to basically seal the deal in this game was pretty significant. And having a guy you can trust with a big shot like that's played a lot of college basketball. He started over 100 plus games in his college basketball career. Having somebody like that you can rely on is huge, but the fact that he does more than just score and you can rely on him to do things like make the right pass, make the extra pass, make the extra pass that's not going to result in an assist, but it moves the defense around, or be able to play passing lanes, being a smart defender and knowing how to rotate and when to rotate, knowing where to rotate to in the right spots, taking charges, like there's a lot of things that are intangible things that don't show up on the stat sheet that I'm holding that you get after these games, but he does them and you notice them every time he's on the floor, even if he doesn't score a single point.
Right. So they welcome in Elon tonight, again, coming up at 6:00. Pregame coverage starting right here on the game at 5:30. Looking over this Elon team, Billy Taylor coming in his first year as Elon's head coach. We talked about the pace of play with South Carolina the other day, and how much that, factored in against a team like Charleston Southern that also played a very slower pace where, the possessions kind of limited on both sides.
53 possessions.
53 possessions.
Very low.
Elon is coming in with one of the highest average pace of plays that South Carolina has seen this entire season. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up with that. And again, Elon, from a talent standpoint, South Carolina is obviously a lot better and shouldn't have any problem there, but that's going to be a good test to see how they fare in SEC play against a team that plays a lot faster than they do.
Yes. And it's a good test to see how you handle certain styles. Because here's what makes college basketball different than almost any other sport. And college football is similar in this regard, is that it's not homogenous in terms of style of play. You watch an NBA game and teams run very similar sets. They run very similar stuff because it's proven that when you have that much talent, you don't have to be as in depth. Well, you have to be in depth. That's probably the wrong way of saying that. You don't have to throw as many wrinkles into offenses and defenses. With college, in college basketball, styles make fights, and you're going to see more extremes. Like the Bucks and the Pacers will play a similar pace all year long. One team will probably maybe run one or two more possessions than the other. But the average length of possession, or not length of possession, the average number of possessions in a college basketball game is about 69, roughly. Nice. And what South Carolina ran against Charleston Southern, they had 53 possessions. 53, if you average that, you'd be the slowest paced team in college basketball by a long shot. But it ranges from your fastest teams playing about 73, 74 possessions a game to your lowest ones, like your Virginia's playing like 57, 58. Your Wisconsin's playing 57, 58. Styles make fights. You're going to see teams that love to trap. You're going to see teams that love to do things different defensively. You're going to see different defensive coverages. You're going to see more zones. So to see them playing against a team that will like to play fast, even if they might not be very efficient, it's going to be a team that's playing fast and is very efficient making three-pointers and will shoot a lot of three-pointers. They're top 70 in three-point rate. They're 16th in the country in three-point percentage. Elon can snap the nets, and they will get a lot of possessions doing so. So how you handle a team that's so different than you in terms of the pace, but similar in terms of they want to get in a three-point shooting contest. It's going to be fun to watch.
I was going to say that probably reflects on why they play such a fast tempo, because they do put up so many three shots, which again, they're very good at. And that could be something that could be dangerous tonight. If those three shots are landing, they're going to be able to stay in this game for a very long time if that continues to stay consistent. One thing that is playing into South Carolina's advantage, though, Elon cannot win a game on the road this year. They're yet to do it. They're coming into perhaps their most intimidating environment this entire season, coming into Colonial Life Arena, where the crowds have just gotten better and better and better. And obviously we have a fan base here that is ready to support a great men's basketball team. And they're looking for win number 11 this season, which would match their win total of the entire season last year. Right?
Before getting into SEC
Before
play.
even getting to Christmas, which would be a welcomed addition. And we certainly hope that gets to happen tonight. And again, Elon has not seen anything like Colonial Life Arena this season.
No, the closest thing would probably be Wake Forest, and they gave up 101 points. That's the thing with this Elon team is, take into account that there are about 363 teams in Division I college basketball. They rank 349 in defensive efficiency.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity to figure out how you can generate offense if the three-pointers aren't going in. How well who on the team can take guys off the bounce, exploit mismatches, get to the rim, and get easy shots? This is the good case study to find that out.
It's so funny looking at some of these lower mid-major teams like in Elon and seeing some of the teams they schedule. Their last game was against Bridgewater VA. I don't know what that is, but they won that game 104-70. And then earlier this season, they took on Warren Wilson. I don't know who Warren Wilson is.
Is it just
but
one man?
But he's not very good because they won that game 127-56. These are obviously I don't know, probably either Division II teams or something like that, very low end that you're not very familiar with. But it's funny when schools like this play those kind of teams, because that's essentially their tune-up games, which is what South Carolina is trying to use this as an opportunity to do. But I guess they got to scrimmage local high schools sometimes to get their tune-ups in.
Oh, buddy, St. Mary's is the king of scheduling teams that you're like, who the hell did you just play? Cal State Stanislaus. It was their season opener. They won 107-28.
Who was North Dakota State played some Christian school that they slaughtered 2 weeks ago.
For anybody who doesn't know this story, I highly recommend looking at it. So they played a team called Oak Hill Christian.
That's right. Isn't that a high school?
It sounds like a high school. There's an Oak Hill Academy in Mouth of Wilson, Virginia, which is a historical powerhouse that usually has a lot of the best players in the country go play there for a year or so under their legendary head coach. But Oak Hill Christian got beat 108-14 to North Dakota State. They scored 0.2 points per possession. They were 1 for 20 from three, 5 for 29 from the field. They turned the ball over 23 times compared to their 2 assists.
Tell me they didn't have a chance.
Did not have much of a chance. If you ever, I have seen some of the footage, some of the highlights from it, and it's the funniest thing you've probably ever seen. I highly recommend just go on YouTube and look up North Dakota State versus Oak Hill Christian.
20.
It is funny.
I'll have to check that out. We'll again, men's basketball coming up tonight, 6:00, right here on the game coverage starting at 5:30. We'll take a quick peek ahead at the college football playoff coming up here in less than 2 weeks. As the early game rolls along, he's Elijah Campbell. I'm Tyler Head. Jen Jensen on the other side of the glass. You're on the game on the 107.5 The Game app.
Be listening for your chance to win Gamecocks men's and women's basketball tickets, 1075 The Game t-shirts signed by Gamecock players, and more merch. It's the 12 Days of Christmas from The Game.
The 12 Days of Christmas on The Game is sponsored by Griffin Pools and Spa.
Hey, this is Jen for CHW Cabinetry. Been almost a year since those pipes burst, and it took almost a year to get everything put back in order, at least everything to be repaired. And that included gutting our kitchen and starting over again. When CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, they were so helpful in getting that kitchen put back together. We figured out the elements that They were in.
Didn't know
business.
you're yeah. Well, now we have no excuse. Now we have all been
Okay.
learnt in here that they're still around. Yes, I want to say they have.
Okay. So you have one no, one yes.
One no, one yes. Yep.
All right. Next one is Duck Commander. Has Duck Commander ever
Mhm.
sponsored a bowl game?
They have.
Ooh.
Jen's helping you out here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm phoning a friend. I'm taking Jen's.
All right.
advice here.
So we got a yes.
A Duck Commander.
A yes for Duck Commander. PUBG Mobile.
Oh man. Because I've never heard of PUBG Mobile, it makes me want to say yes.
Okay.
I want to say yes. PUBG Mobile.
All right. Nike. Has Nike ever sponsored a bowl game?
That one's too obvious. No.
Okay.
That one's too. It's too big. It's too big of a brand.
Too big of a brand?
Yeah. So
All right.
No.
How about EA Sports?
Oh, they got to be. I feel like EA Sports has had to do like an obscure bowl of some sort, just so they could put it in their college football video game.
All right. Disney World. Has Disney World, not the Disney company,
The
has
Disney
Disney
World.
World ever sponsored a bowl game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Reluctantly.
Do you know how
Yes.
many yeses you're up to right now? Are you keeping count?
Oh, I lost track of that. Disney World, Duck Commander,
Duck Commander,
Circuit City,
PUBG.
PUBG.
So you've reached 4.
Okay. Yeah.
So I still have one more to go. So are you confident that this last one I'm going to say has never sponsored a bowl game?
Not really. No.
Okay.
This is harder than I thought it would be.
The last option is SeaWorld. Has SeaWorld ever sponsored a bowl game?
Oh man. Can I swap SeaWorld and Disney World?
You may.
All right, I will do that.
All right. So
I think that's smart.
I think that might be.
all right. So your final answers are SeaWorld,
SeaWorld real.
PUBG Mobile,
Real.
EA Sports, and Circuit City.
Yes.
Those are your 4.
Those are I'm locking them in. I don't feel great about it.
I want to congratulate you on making a 75%.
Okay.
As
that
you
passes.
got 3 of the 4 correct.
Wow. Okay. That feels better. That's better than what I felt, I will say. I
So
didn't leave that test feeling great about it.
So the right answers, PUBG Mobile
Knew it.
sponsored
It had to be.
the 2021 New Mexico Bowl, which PUBG Mobile, like I never played it, but it was like a mobile game that was like everywhere. Like it sponsored a lot of different things. I don't know what their marketing budget was. Apparently it
That's
was
what
pretty
that is.
big.
It's a video game. Yeah. It's a
It
video
is.
game. Okay.
And I didn't play it, so I couldn't tell you anything about it. SeaWorld did in fact sponsor the Holiday Bowl from 1986 until 1990.
Because didn't the Holiday Bowl used to have, or it had like a whale as its logo?
That was Pacific Life.
Pacific Life. 'Cause
So
Pacific Life.
they
did the Holiday
sponsored
Bowl
it.
world.
It's now the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. That's
Less majestic.
Southern Cal and Louisville coming up.
That's right.
Which obviously Southern Cal is gonna have a bunch of opt-outs.
Petco Park, I believe, is where they
That's
played that. Was that where they played it last year when Oregon, North Carolina played?
I think so. Which that's one of my favorite things about bowl season is bowl games played in baseball stadiums.
Yes.
Weird
There
and
are a lot of
obscure.
them. Like-
There are more than there should be, probably.
Unfortunately enough, the Boca Raton Bowl or not or the Gasparilla Bowl this weekend is not played at the Trop, which is a travesty.
Which the Trop's not good for much else, but
But it's a beautiful bowl game.
So we got that.
Arena.
Duck Commander sponsored the 2014 Independence Bowl out in Shreveport.
And of
which
course
is
it would be
in the
a place
backyard
like
of,
Shreveport.
Duck Dynasty.
Yes.
So it makes
Yep.
sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
And EA Sports did in fact sponsor the 1999 Las Vegas Bowl.
Wow. Okay.
So those are your reels.
go.
The fakes were Fortnite, Disney World, Nike, and Circuit City. Unfortunately, did not sponsor a bowl
No.
game.
I was thinking because there were a bunch of weird bowl game sponsors that were just like so much for their time. There was like an Insight.com bowl one
Well,
year.
so the .com bubble was like the boom was reflected with bowl games because there were so many.
Yes.
Like not only brands but brand specific website like PapaJohns.com
not Papa John's,
was a bowl
the
game.
website.
I
Yep.
think South Carolina actually went to one of those. Insight.com bowl. Like there was a lot of
Yep.
just like
GoDaddy.com.
GoDaddy.com bowl.
GoDaddy.com
which that
had a
almost made
bowl
the list,
game.
by the way. But yeah, a lot of just very specific bowl games sponsored by websites. It's like, okay. And then obviously the bubble burst and everything's changed now. But yes, a good review of history of some obscure bowl
Love
games.
it. Oh, I love it. The era of the .com sponsored bowl games.
Truly a bygone era. And I like referring to bowl games by their old names. Like it's not the Duke's Mayo Bowl, it's the Meineke Car Care Bowl for me
Okay.
personally. It's never going to be the Relias Bowl. It's always going to be the Outback Bowl. Like, that's just tradition.
I'll always have the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
Best mouthful in all of sports.
Yep, and I've got it down to a science.
We'll take a look at the college football playoff coming up as the early game rolls along. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Tyler Head. Jen Jensen on the other side of the glass here on the game, the 107.5 The Game app.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
The Mega Millions jackpot for Friday is $57 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds and a store near you.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. You must have been really good this year because your present is present at Love Chevy. The lot is brimming with vehicles for you to touch, feel, and experience for yourself. Hop in and drive yours home today. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Pete Wine Pool and Spa is your hometown hot tub dealer where sales and service go hand in hand. If you've been thinking about buying a hot tub, come check out our full line of hot tubs and explore the benefits of hydrotherapy, which includes stress relief and increased blood flow and promotes overall health and well-being. Models start as low as $5,000.
Your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Liner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing
The Game
take it.
On Demand podcast menu.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, our team is here to get you better sooner. 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game in Florence.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
Is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
Highway 262 at Garner's Ferry Road. We have a report of an accident there. The bigger tie-up out towards the Wateree River Bridge, exit 98 between exit 98 and exit 92. I-20 westbound is where that is. So there's a detour there. So again, it's I-20 westbound between exits 98 and 92. They have it marked for a detour. Aside from that, things have improved out on the highways. And 61 will be our high today, overnight low of 34. 65 tomorrow, 67 on Sunday, come Christmas Day, 65, maybe an afternoon or evening shower, but it's pretty decent right now, 37 on the early game.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. There we go.
I'm trying.
DJ Jen spinning the Christmas classics today.
Oh yeah, this is extra poppy and festive. Festive poppy.
Exactly. There's a version. Is this the one that that Ariana Grande and Jennifer Hudson are also in?
Now, see, I enjoyed me some Ariana Grande.
Me
I'm
too.
I'm just gonna say that
Hard not to. Yeah, that's an easy one to admit.
it is. Her Santa Tell Me, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
It is good.
That's a good one.
this is pretty solid. I can't say I've ever heard it. I'm on board.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've heard this one.
I don't think I've heard this one either.
She has like a
Been a
whole
while.
album. She has like a
Now,
Christmas album.
my wife probably knows this, but I can't say that I've ever listened to it before.
That's what you're saying. It doesn't sound
It's
familiar,
good.
but it
I like
coming
it.
out of the gate strong.
Welcome back into the early game.
Getting down with it. That's
Tyler
good.
Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen, along with you. We'll get into more college football in just a moment. But speaking of Santa, it's time for another 12 Days Christmas giveaway.
The 12 Days of Christmas on the Game is sponsored by
Griffin Pools and Spa. Here's what Santa has right now.
I have a pair of tickets to see the men's basketball team take on Mississippi State on January the 6th. Gave away a pair of tickets to women on January the 7th. This is for men on January the 6th as they open up conference play against the Bulldogs out at Colonial Life Arena. Caller number 7 right now, 803-404-6100. Win yourself that pair of tickets. And again, thank you as always to our friends over at Griffin Pools and Spas for being a part of our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. We're a little over a week away from the college football playoff semifinals. Nick Saban yesterday on the Pat McAfee Show talking about the Tide's preparation for heading out west.
No, basically, we try to structure our practices where we have, I think we had 3 practices that were, I call fundamental practices. Players have to go back, and when you have this much time off and this much time between games, you got to kind of reinvest in your conditioning, reinvest in your fundamentals, reinvest in taking care of the ball, tackling, all these things. When you don't play for a long time, you can get a little rusty at. So we try to spend 3 days on that. And then we have a normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of what we would do in the season here, where we're trying to, implement the plan, as if we were playing a game on Saturday. And then when we go to LA, we'll repeat that same thing again, but like 1 day in advance. So we're a little back end loaded on the rest time for the game.
There is no program in college football that is more adept to having to go on the road for a college football playoff game, navigate around the holidays, navigate around everything going on with the early signing day, with the transfer portal, than Alabama. They've been there, done that so many times. This is like clockwork to them. I have no doubt that they're going to be ready and prepared for next Monday's game as they take on Michigan out there in the actual Rose Bowl, not the Rose Bowl that they played at Cowboy Stadium a couple years ago against Notre Dame, the actual Rose Bowl.
The real experience this time.
And I've said this a couple times since we found out who the Final Four were going to be. there is nothing scarier to me than an Alabama team that has nothing to lose with no pressure on them, quite frankly.
Yeah, they've already turned the season around. That's
They
the
have.
thing. They've
Look,
already overachieved given what they looked like the first, I don't know, 4 weeks of the year.
We all wrote them off. We're like,
I did.
You lose
So
to
hard.
Texas. You barely managed to beat a South Florida team that won one game a season ago. No way. They're going to lose 3-4 games this year. They're done. They're out of it. Saban, the dynasty is dead. We were all ready to say
Yep.
it. And Nick Saban said, well, not so fast, my friend. And took what might be his
Lee
worst team
Corsotis.
in like the past 15 years to the college football playoff. And the reaction of the Michigan players when they found out they were taking on Alabama, not Florida State, I think spoke volumes to how dangerous this team is.
Yep.
And by the way, all eyes on Michigan because they're going to their third straight playoff. They've yet to make it out of the semifinals, and now they're taking on the best in the business in Alabama. And look, Jim Harbaugh has done enough to get himself back in the good graces of the folks up there in Michigan, and they'll hang on to him as long as they can unless he just decides to go to the NFL. But you lose 3 straight playoff games, it's like, hey, bud, what the heck? When are we finally going to get over that hump?
Exactly. And then, which is, they have this really tough conundrum of, would you really start pushing out the guy who has beaten Ohio State the last 3 years? Do you trade off beating Ohio State for an early playoff exit? A lot of them, that'd be a tough question to have to answer for if you're a Michigan fan and you were the one making that decision.
And that's what's easy to forget is only a couple of years ago, they're ready to push him out because he couldn't
They
beat
were anyway.
Ohio State. But it
Yep.
starts beating Ohio State and it's not like, well, okay, well, we'd like to go to the national championship. And, then you have all this off the field stuff that's going on. So a lot of eyes focused on Michigan. And, look, I'm not an Alabama fan by any means. I know you're not an Alabama fan by any means, but I think a large portion of the country for once might actually be rooting for Alabama because people don't want to see Michigan and all the controversy they were caught up in. Literally, Harbaugh missed half the games this year due to suspension. I don't think anybody wants to see them win a national championship.
It is hilarious to see a team that not only is in the playoff, but is undefeated and is the number 1 seed in the playoff. And their coach has missed half the season due to not just 1, but 2 separate suspensions, multiple suspensions.
Yes.
That he has missed out on. That has basically sandwiched the year. Like it's a suspension sandwich, with 2 suspensions on the outside and then just a small little 6-game streak where he got to coach.
There was, and I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword because while they were happy that Florida State took some of the headlines with getting excluded from the playoff, they now have to play Alabama in the Final Four. Because again, we haven't talked about the Connor Stallion stuff because nothing new's come about it in these past couple weeks.
It's
Like
pretty
we've kind of
flowed over.
shifted towards the ineptitude of the College Football Playoff Committee to some degree, but I guarantee you, as we get closer and closer to New Year's Day, we're going to be talking more and more about everything going on with Michigan and, seeing if they can finally get over that hump, which sitting here right now on December the 22nd, I mean, I'm picking Alabama. Like I don't see Michigan doing enough to be able to get past what is the hottest team in college football right now.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. In our wild card showdown, I did take Michigan. Most of that is I've rolled this far. That was my preseason pick to win it all. I might as well stick to my guns now, but there's still a way they can win it.
There is.
And the big thing is, can you keep Jalen Milroe in the pocket and not scrambling? What Jalen Milroe does to beat you isn't the designed runs. And I was reading in the Athletic, there's an anonymous anonymous SEC defensive coach who said that, when Jalen Milroe has designed runs, that's fine. You can stop those. Those actually are not too difficult to stop or contain. What's hard to contain is when you give him time in the pocket and the play breaks down and he finds a lane to run. And he finds that lane, he's taking it, and he's taking at least 15 yards with him every time. If you can minimize that and make him have to still dissect you through the air, he could do it, but I feel good about Michigan's secondary enough to not get overpowered by Jermaine Burton. Like Michigan's got a really good secondary. There's a reason they were able to force a couple of turnovers to win that game against Ohio State. Can they at least keep Jalen Milroe from being Mike Vick?
Yeah,
that's what you're going to have to stop is the improvised runs that killed LSU, because LSU did a good job of containing him on the design stuff. But the minute he broke out of the pocket and broke contain, he was gone for touchdowns or 15-yard chunk plays. Can you at least eliminate that from Alabama's, offensive repertoire here and make Jalen Milroe have to throw for 400 yards to beat you?
Yeah.
Then there's a way. There's a way.
I'll say the defense
15.
is what can certainly keep them in that. We'll see what happens on January 1st with the Rose Bowl and the playoff semifinals. One more segment to go, wrapping up today's edition of the early game. Coming up here, Tyler Head, Elijah Campbell, Jen Jensen, along with you here on the game in the 107.5 The Game app.
Coming January 2nd, it's The Game TV. Soon, you can listen and watch the game and get your chance to see why we all work in radio and not TV. On The Game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. The fallout continues after Pittsburgh wideout George Pickens declined to block on a key running play and failed to chase an opponent, leaving an interception. Ben Roethlisberger commented, "This isn't what it means to wear the black and gold." And my colleague coach Bill Cowher was frothing, saying he could never imagine a player not performing and giving everything. Things are getting heated in Pittsburgh. I'm Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, this is Travis Kelce, NFL tight end and proud member of the Lowe's Home Team. Lowe's knows when you've got the best price, you've already won. That's why we offer the lowest price guarantee. If you find a better price online or in store, we'll match it. Now you can score on the top brands from the Lowe's Home Team picks, like Scotts, LG, and DeWalt. So take on your projects with confidence. Lowe's is the exclusive home improvement retail partner of the NFL.
Price match applies to same item, current price of qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at Lowe's.com/lowest price guarantee.
Save the date. Join Canty Foundation Specialists and the United Way of Kershaw County on February 24th in Camden for the Caring Hearts benefit. There will be live music by the Mike Veal Band and Camden's own Megan Davis. Dance the night away, enjoy an open bar, and savor food catered by Lil Fritz. Canty Foundation Specialists and the UWKC are coming together to raise funds for New Day Transitional Housing, helping families get a fresh start and a second chance. Tickets are available at Eventbrite under Caring Hearts Benefit or uwkc.net. Let's make a difference together.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
This holiday season, spread the joy to family and friends by filling your hopper with Kingsford Hardwood Pellets. Kingsford Hardwood Pellets delivers excellent performance in any pellet grill and adds an authentic wood-fired flavor to your holiday meals. From favorites like prime rib to mac and cheese, your family will crown you grilling royalty. Trust Kingsford, America's grilling expert with over 100 years of expertise in flavor and quality. Make Kingsford Hardwood Pellets your grilling holiday go-to. Visit Kingsford.com.
Save the date. Join Canty Foundation Specialists and the United Way of Kershaw County on February 24th in Camden for the Caring Hearts benefit. There will be live music by the Mike Veal Band and Camden's own Megan Davis. Dance the night away, enjoy an open bar, and savor food catered by Lil Fritz. Canty Foundation Specialists and the UWKC are coming together to raise funds for New Day Transitional Housing, helping families get a fresh start and a second chance. Tickets are available at Eventbrite under Caring Hearts Benefit or uwkc.net. Let's make a difference together.
The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Jen Jensen.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Christmas is a time, special time of year.
You need to be listening to this.
Joy and happiness, wonderment and cheer. For opening your presents underneath the tree and spending countless hours with your family. That's why I'm drinking. I'm gonna drink all day. I'm going home for Christmas and my family is insane. Just got
Welcome back in. It is the early game. Tigerhead Elijah Campbell.
Yeah.
It took me 3 hours to make that mistake.
Yes.
And Jen Jensen. Jen, what are you playing for us now?
It's Jimmy Fallon with John Rich, and it's Drunk on Christmas.
Oh,
That's why I thought you had to let it ride.
That's
to
my
hear
favorite tradition. Yeah.
And there you go.
I like that. No, that was good.
So you're that member of your family.
I am. Well, actually, in my family, we're all that members of our family. I think it is a. I don't know if
That's
if
how you
I've
get along
got
with
it like
everybody.
that. Exactly. Yeah, that's how we make it through. So,
Mhm. That's how in Christmas Vacation they actually reference how did you get through all these Christmases, and didn't he say Jack Daniels?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Yeah, that's the thing in the Campbell household is that usually all of us have been that member of the family.
Well, you know what? As long as it's all of you together, right?
That's right. Exactly. As long as we're all in solidarity.
Sharing Christmas memories, inebriated to some degree. Again, a couple more minutes to go, wrapping up this Christmas edition of the early game. Want to hit some of these texts on the Firehouse Subs text line. Nameless Texter gives us their top 4 of Christmas movies. Christmas Story, something else we have not hit yet. That's a classic that, if you want to watch it, they're going to play it on loop on TBS for like
all day
on Christmas Day. You can see him shoot out his eye and
try out, kid.
Get the tongue stuck to the light pole.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one still makes me cringe to this day.
I think that's true, though. I think
I'm never going to try it. I'm not going to be the guinea pig.
I think I had a
Find out.
teammate in middle school. We were waiting on the bus to take us to a wrestling tournament. I think he tried that, and they had to pour water over it to get it to unstick. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Nope.
Here's another one: Nightmare Before Christmas.
Counting that as a Christmas movie, I like that. Yeah.
It's
a Halloween Christmas movie.
You put up the Twitter thing yesterday about the Grinch and those that would be good on the football field. We had somebody say Jack Skellington at wide receiver, which
length galore.
You want to talk about getting contested catches, high pointed balls? Skellington's your man.
I mean, it's like if Devontae Smith was a foot taller, or I'm just being on stilts with longer arms. That's the thing too, because Devontae Smith, they call him the Slim Reaper for a reason, because he's not, he's not like DK Metcalf where he's just overly jacked. But Jack Skellington as a receiver, I mean, clearly out wide.
Yeah.
I mean, the catch radius is ignorant on that man. I could totally see that.
Absolutely.
I like that. That's a good answer. Underrated.
Our first submission for Die Hard. Which
Okay.
It is a Christmas movie. Can we all agree on that?
I have never really considered it. I don't think of it as a Christmas movie.
And the reason people say that is because it takes place at Christmas time,
Yes.
holiday Christmas party, all that kind of stuff, the trees, the lights, all that kind of stuff. Christmas is not the focal point of the story, but it's still taking place at Christmas.
Which is usually when I think Christmas movies, I'm thinking of where Christmas is the theme, like the Hallmark movies, where the spirit of Christmas brings Dad home after he after whatever storyline occurs.
The 32-year-old journalist from Chicago just doesn't have time for Christmas because she's so busy with her career. But it takes the hot guy that works at the bookstore to show her the true meaning of Christmas.
That's right. Or the local lumberjack who's just a real hunk.
That's right.
Who's just been down on his luck.
And she leaves her jerk lawyer boyfriend back in the city to settle down with him, and they open up a candle shop in the small town
because they discovered the true meaning.
Exactly. And there's the little kid that puts the star on the tree at the end of the movie, and then again, Santa Claus is the guy with the show snubble on the sidewalk or something like that. We just wrote a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Before you fade to black, you show Santa, a civilian Santa, giving a wink to the camera as he's shoveling snow.
We
just wrote it.
Literally, I was just about to say the wink.
There we go.
That how you have to end the movie on that note and be like, he was real
the entire time.
That's right. He's really.
We just wrote a movie, a Hallmark Christmas movie.
It's almost kind of like a Mad Lib.
in a way.
Have you seen Holiday Christmas Bingo? Hallmark Christmas Bingo, excuse me. Well, they have all the cliches of the movie, and you watch it, and you can play bingo.
Oh, I love
you
that.
can turn it into a drinking game with your family.
Can. Oh, as if we needed more reasons to.
Yeah. I will find it. I will send it to you because I guarantee you it will make your Christmas even more fun because it is perfect. Also, Nameless Texter weighs in. Classic Home Alone as well.
Yep.
Also makes their top 4 there.
Very nice.
So yeah, good solid list. There's no wrong list, but there's so many Christmas movies out there. It's hard to narrow it down to just 4. So good submissions there. So I appreciate you guys weighing in. As we wrap up here, so I'll be out next week. You'll be in later on today as you have your marathon of a day, and obviously safe travels on your 5.5 hour drive to your dad's house later.
That's right, and safe travels for you as well in your shorter drive.
My shorter drive, 2.5 hours.
It's a drive nonetheless.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Traveling.
It's all highway. It's not hard.
Okay, that's nice.
But certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Bill and Preston will be back middle of next week to get you set for some bowl games and talk a little bit of post-Christmas stuff. So
Real bowl games.
Merry Christmas to all of you. Jen, Merry Christmas to you as well.
Same
Thank
to
you
you
for
guys.
putting up with us for these
Merry
past
Christmas,
couple
Jen.
days.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
been
you.
fun.
I know you like us better than Bill and Preston. So
Oh, yeah.
you
I
don't
just
have
don't
to
want
say
to
it
admit
out
it out
loud.
loud.
But
Good thing
appreciate
no one's listening.
Appreciate all you guys listening, weighing on the Firehouse subtext on 803-404-6100. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and all of yours as well. Halftime show, not the halftime show. There I go again, screwing up the names of shows. The
Long
Extra
day.
Point coming up next with myself right here on The Game and the 107.5 The Game app. You can listen to us next week. You can listen to Lamont Paris. You can listen to Coach Kingston. You can listen to Coach Beamer wherever you go by downloading the 107.5 The Game app and keeping you locked in on the game, not only in your holiday season, but after the holidays as well. When you're driving around, if you're not in the range for our traditional radio signal, you can have the game with you right there in the palm of your very hand each and every day. Download the 107.5 The Game app today.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified